Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. Finally, goods and services tax will be implemented from 1st July. Most of the key impediments, most of the key hurdles have been crossed. Now, what remains to be done is for the center and states to sit together and classify a whole range of goods and services into various tax slabs which have been announced, and then really kick off GST from 1st July onwards. So how will GST work? GST, the key to implementation of GST is what we call the GSTN network. GSTN network is the IT backbone on which the whole new tax system will be implemented. 80 lakh current taxpayers, indirect taxpayers, whether they pay excise, whether they pay VAT or service tax, businesses, individuals who are providing services, they'll all register on the GSTN network. And it is this GSTN network which will act like a central nervous system for the implementation of GST. So we decided to have in our studio the chairman of GSTN network, Mr. Navin Kumar, to explain to us in very simple terms how this will pan out post July. Welcome to our show, Mr. Navin Kumar.
Thanks.
So you are at the center of so to say implementation of GST, because you are providing the IT backbone. Could you just tell our viewers in very simple terms how things will progress from here, and what is the sort of interface that your organization has with or will have with the central government administration, tax administration, state government tax administration, other stakeholders like taxpayers, etc.?
See, our organization, GST network, that's the Goods and Services Tax Network, we are mandated to build the IT infrastructure and services for implementing GST. So this company was established in 2013.
Yeah.
In 2015, we selected our IT partner, Infosys, to do this work. Now, if you recall, at that time, the GST, the constitutional amendment bill, was still in the parliament.
Yeah.
RS had not cleared it. So when we awarded this work to Infosys, the question before us was, how do we go ahead? Because GST was not there and we didn't know when it was going to come.
Yeah.
So at that time, I went to the Empowered Committee of State Finance Ministers. And I requested them that we should be allowed to go ahead with at least with the application development, because that takes time. So when law is passed at that time, we will not be able to do it unless we start.
If you hadn't done that, maybe your implementation would have been delayed by a year or so, right?
Yes, because application development is time taking. So they were very kind, and they allowed us. Not only that, they approved the draft GST business processes also, so that we could start our work based on that. So we did that, and in May 2016, if you recall, the draft law was published.
Yeah.
So then we saw that the processes on the basis of which we were working, they had changed a bit in the law. So we made those changes. Then there were so many representations by
what are the
businesses.
changes in the law which you needed to incorporate?
There are many things, in the processes itself, like the return process or registration process, all those things. So, but there were this was put in public domain, and people made a number of representations, suggestions, etc. So on that basis, the law was again revised in November. So we again, on that basis, we revised our software. But finally, what happens is that what goes into the system, that is the IT system, is actually based on the rules, because rules are more granular. They give more details of how the law is to be implemented. So that has happened on 31st of March. So we are in the process of bringing about those changes. But we launched our portal in November last for purposes of, enrolling existing taxpayers for GST. At that time, there was no law, so we couldn't have asked them to register themselves. So we asked them to enroll themselves, so that, if they activate their accounts on our portal, when GST is rolled out, then their transition will be seamless. So that we did started in November, and there has been good progress in that.
Registered?
Until now, about 56 lakh taxpayers, existing taxpayers, have already activated their accounts.
You mean 56 out of say 80 lakh businesses that pay tax today, indirect tax?
Yes.
56 are already registered with you?
They are already enrolled. We don't call it
enrolled.
registration,
Okay.
it's enrollment. So they have enrolled.
And what is the difference between enrollment and the next step,
You
registration?
see, since there is no, at that time there was no law. Registration can be done under the GST law.
Okay.
There was no law.
So now
we
you have
said-
all the legal acts in place, right?
Yes, like the central acts are there, the state acts are still to come.
Oh yeah,
So-
the state acts have to come, yeah.
They are still to come. So this enrollment has gone on smoothly, and so the taxpayers, they know how to interact with our system now, and our system is linked now to the tax systems of the state governments and the central government.
Okay.
So you see, this ecosystem for GST involves this front end which we are doing, which we call the GST portal, which will run 3 basic services of registration, returns and payments. But this system is connected with all the tax systems of the state and central governments.
Okay.
Those are called the backends. So our interaction is with the taxpayers, but we are also interacting with the tax officers. We are also interacting with the banks and the RBI. So this is how this entire system.
So
will
how
work.
challenging will be the interaction with the back end?
For the back end, what happens? Our system is there. The back end systems will interact with our system through what we call the APIs, the application programming interfaces. These are rules.
So for which they will be trained?
Yes, we give them the specifications. These are the rules which they have to observe in order to talk to our system and take data from us or to give data to us.
Okay.
So that we are sharing with the tax departments. And as you would perhaps recall, that
The API
for a
rules, yeah.
for a number of states, we are doing the back end also. In fact, for 20 states and 7 union territories, the back end is being done by GST network.
Which means when you say you're doing the back end means
Their IT system.
so the other states which are not using, for whom you're not doing the back end, they are independently getting the back end done.
They are doing themselves. There are 9 states and the central government. They are doing their system themselves.
So why this difference of approach? Some people doing taking your help and others independent. I mean, why couldn't it be a uniform? You doing it for everybody?
See, ideally, if you ask me, ideally each tax department should have done it itself.
Itself.
Because it's their system. They have to do it. They should do it the way they want it. But what happened when we started out, we made an assessment of the readiness of the states also. At that time, we felt that some states would require
More
help.
ready than the others. Yeah.
Yes. So then we made an offer to them. In fact, the Department of Revenue, Government of India, they convened a meeting with the commercial tax commissioners of all states, where we offered that those states that wanted their system done by us because of paucity of time on their part, we would be willing to do it, because if we were going to build our system anyway, so we can do that together with that. So at that time, 12 states had opted for it. But later on, during this period of a year and a half, 15 other states and union territories have come over. So we are doing that for them.
So you're doing for a total of how many states now?
20 states, 7 union territories.
You're doing it for 20 states.
20 states, yes.
So what will this involve, Mr. Navin Kumar? Because from all accounts, this, and I also feel this is the most critical part of your function now. The interface between the tax officers and the GST network, and through you, tax officers connecting with the taxpayers, users, right? Because the tax officials are used to a completely different system, right, at the moment, and there is some dissonance also, which the finance minister himself spoke about. He said it will take time for the tax officers association, the indirect tax excise officers association, the customs. There have been some usual protests. They feel that they'll lose jobs, etc. Now their whole mindset change, their retraining, that will happen parallelly as you implement it.
That's very important.
And you have to crunch it, right?
That's very important, because system that is going to come under GST is very different from the system existing under, say, service tax
Or excise or VAT.
Although I must also underline that all of these are value-added taxes. So the basic philosophy and the basic modalities are the same. But the manner in which it is going to be implemented is a bit different. So therefore, you are very right when you say that there is a big need for training of the tax officers. So there are two parts to it. One part is about the law, which the government, the central government is doing. The Department of Revenue is conducting a number of training programs. Together with that, on the IT part, we are doing the training. And the method that we have adopted is we first train a set of master trainers. These are all officers of tax departments, drawn from, say, Central Board of Excise and Customs and all the tax departments of the state governments. Then in turn, these people will go back and train other officers. So the training of master trainers has already been completed in February. About 2,000 master trainers, officers we have trained as master trainers.
And they in turn will train how many officers?
They have already gone back to their departments and they have started training of other officers. In fact, a couple of states have already completed that work. And other states are in the process of doing it.
Which states have completed their overall training of?
Like Andhra and Himachal, these are two states that have done it.
So you'd say that Andhra and Himachal are like really on the ball?
Yeah, but others have also started. So that training is going on in many states today. And our target is to get this thing finished by middle of May. So that will happen. All told, there are about 60,000 officers all over the country. So this will happen. So this is very important for the success of this implementation of GST, because these people will not only handle the tax system in their departments, but they are also expected to fan out and talk to the taxpayers and sensitize them and let them know. And if they have any problems during the compliance period, they have to handholds with them.
Tell me, Mr. Navin Kumar, there is some apprehension among small businesses. Of course, a lot of small businesses below the 20 lakh turnover threshold, they need not register, they are exempt. But then they will have to register because in order for people to buy from them and to get input credit, they will have to register. So in a sense, nobody can really avoid it, right? So there is an apprehension among small businesses that a lot of paperwork will be required to be kept, and it might therefore increase their transaction costs. Would you sort of concur with this view? Of course, the medium size businesses and the bigger businesses, they are very happy with this because it introduces a great amount of transparency, this whole value-added tax system. But how do you see the apprehensions of the small businesses?
See, for the small businesses also, in fact, if you look at it, the paperwork will not go up in my estimation, because what they have to do, as they were doing earlier, they have to give details of their purchases and sales. This is the basic thing they have to do. Now the question is, in what format?
This is what everybody else will have to do, right?
Yes.
All those who register will have to give data on this.
Yes. The difference that is there is that earlier they were giving this data in a summary form, in the sense that for every tax rate, what was the total turnover that they had to report and the tax liability on that and tax paid. But in order to make that summary, they had to keep a record of all transactions.
Yeah, they had to.
Now, under the new law, they are supposed to give invoice-wise details. So that data they had to keep anyway, even earlier. So now, only thing is that instead of totaling that and giving, they have to give detail of each transaction.
So are you saying that instead of keeping massive amounts of registers recording the various transactions, they can record that on the network itself, is it?
Yeah, they have to keep, as they were doing before, they have to keep their own records. And now to the GST system, they will have to give invoice-wise details. And to facilitate that, what we have done, of course, on our portal, they can come and enter data over there. But we are also giving an offline tool, which will be available on our website, and they can, the taxpayers can download it free. There, we are providing facility for them to import data from their own accounts. If they keep in, say, Excel sheet, that data can be pulled from there into this tool, and then invoice wise that data can be uploaded to our system. So this is one thing that we are doing.
When you say invoice wise, you're saying each transaction?
Each invoice, in one invoice, whatever details are there
Okay.
that they have to go.
Okay.
In fact, the bigger businesses have to give line wise details.
Okay.
You know, so these details have to be given. So this is one thing that we are doing, which I think will help the smaller businesses, because they will have this offline tool, so they can work on their own systems. That is number one. Other than that, we have also made a mobile application, because we know that connectivity is an issue in the country, and you know, internet connectivity through the normal means becomes difficult if you don't have power supply and things like that. But if you would agree with me that there's very good mobile connectivity all over the country, even in rural areas there's connectivity. So we are encouraging, actually we have made our own mobile application that can run on smartphones.
Okay.
So you can do the compliance through that.
So in a way you've smartphone enabled your systems.
Yes, that is one. But also together with that, we are encouraging, you know, all these IT companies, IT enabled services companies to build applications for mobile based applications for their clients. So that people who are doing, say, accounting packages, if they can make that kind of a facility available on mobile and integrate it with, say, GST return preparing software, etc., then it will be very convenient for the taxpayers, and that will you know, benefit all these small taxpayers.
Tell me, I want to ask you, Mr. Navin Kumar, your system must be as it is enabled now, as it is coded now, your entire, it's like a giant computer, right, software that you're working. It would operate on the basis of certain assumptions. Now, one assumption is that all the states will actually charge the same rate for certain good or service activity, right? That's the assumption we are going by, and even the finance minister has hoped that all the states, as far as possible, they agree to a certain item or a certain service be brought under the same slab. Now, if that doesn't happen, if some states for their own reason try to put it in a different slab, instead of 8%, some states say, okay, we put it in 18%. If those kind of discrepancies occur, will you have difficulties? It's just a thought which occurred to me.
Yeah, firstly, before I talk about difficulties, I think it is unlikely that such a thing would happen, because my understanding is that any change in the tax rates or fitment of the commodities to different tax rates will have to be approved by the GST Council. So if any state wants to do something different, it will come to the GST Council, and perhaps they will take care of that. But yes, so far, if you ask me, if that were to happen, then of course
I'm just saying a hypothetical situation.
It makes things a bit difficult for us, because then you have to, you know, map all the different commodities of different states to the software with different rates. That makes things complicated, very complicated.
And tell me, there are three sectors which in which GST is not being implemented at this moment, right? They may be done at a later stage. In principle, they have taken petroleum sector on board, but at the when you implement it on July 1st, or the different states will be charging their own current taxes on petroleum, because they'll have retained flexibility in moving petroleum rates. It's one of the biggest revenue earner. I'm told 30-35% the state's revenues come from petroleum. Liquor is outside the system, and I'm told real estate is also outside the system. Real estate board at this level of services from the time land is converted from agriculture to, and then now given some of these big sectors being out, will it pose a challenge to the way GST works? I'm purely from a technical standpoint I'm asking. What's your sense?
No, for us, it doesn't make a difference. When the GST Council decides to bring any of these things within the ambit of GST, then we'll have to bring a module for that. We'll do it at that time. At this point of time,
you won't have a module for petroleum or for
not, because they are not there at the moment.
They're not there at the moment. Okay. So what's your expectation initially? So once you said that businesses have. You use a technical term. They have they've not registered, but they have. You said that they have enrolled.
Enrolled, yes.
Now, by July 1st, how many more businesses do you expect would enroll now? And I assume that all these businesses will register by July 1st because the tax gets implemented immediately after that?
That's right. Whichever business wants to continue doing business under the GST regime, they have to come on board.
Yeah.
So, as I said, we had started the enrollment drive in November last, and it is continuing. And the idea was that even when there was no law, they should come and create their accounts on our portal, so that when GST is rolled out, they have no problems. They can straight away start doing business and filing their returns, making tax payments, etc. So, that is why we called it enrollment at that time. Now, what will happen is that
the registrations will start.
Yes, when GST comes, then registrations will begin. Then those who don't have any registration under VAT or service tax or central excise, they will have to register afresh on our portal.
On your
So those will be new taxpayers.
Okay. What about the old taxpayers? They'll also have to register, no?
No, they don't have to, because the old ones, they are already on the system now. Supposing a few people who they miss out.
So that means the 56 lakhs who have enrolled, are you suggesting that there could be new taxpayers?
New taxpayers means when GST comes, then anybody who did not have a registration under the old taxes, they will have to register if they want to do business.
So in a way, there would be new.
There will be new taxpayers.
In a sense, there will be new taxpayers.
There will be new taxpayers.
So that by itself is a good sign that you have already. You have before you started, you have so many potentially new registrations for tax payment.
No, perhaps, let me make it clear. I mean, the existing taxpayers, they do not have to register. They have enrolled themselves. And on the day GST rolls out, we have to give them a provisional registration. Okay. And after they provide certain pieces of information, they will be given final registration. So this is for the existing taxpayers. But after GST is in place, or say starting from 1st of July, then anybody who has not done business before under VAT or service tax or central excise, they will have to take a new registration.
Oh, it's a fresh registration.
That will be fresh registration.
And what does that entail? That means they'll have to basically list their name, their
they have to get some basic information. Yes,
Yeah.
PAN card, their business details, their place of business, bank details, things like that.
And all these people will have a single kind of identity PAN card, huh?
One what we call GST ID, GSTIN, GST identity number for entire country.
Whereas at the moment they have different VAT, state level different, central excise different.
Yes.
So in a sense you'll have information for all these people in your system at one place.
Yes. That's
And how do you expect? There's a big expectation that since the input credit system will naturally pull in a lot of businesses to register, because for them to sell goods, they will have to register. Otherwise, people won't buy from them if they can't get input credit from what is bought from them. Do you expect a large number of new people, fresh registrations post July 1?
We studied the trend of new registrations under VAT and service tax, and we found that it was generally around 5-6%.
Okay.
So I think it would be around 5-6%, but even if it goes up to 10%, we have no problems with regard to
10%
of the existing numbers.
Existing numbers, okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We're running out of time. Thank you very much for really explaining to us how this will work. Mr. Navin Kumar, pleasure having you with us.
Thanks.
That's all we have in this edition of State of the Economy. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks for watching.